Hey girls, happy 4th of July, Independence Day, yay! You like my shirt? Yes, you do. I drink and I write things. It's awesome. I've gotten more compliments on this shirt than any other shirt I've owned ever. The point is communication. That's today's topic because a lot of people have problems with communication, and I want to clarify exactly what it's supposed to be, just to help you out a little bit. Quite frequently, we, the people, think that communication is saying things, and communicating our feelings is telling somebody about our feelings, uh, and and that's it. Like our only obligation is to open our mouth and make words come out, and that's communication. And that is 100% wrong. That's speaking, that's talking, and there's a whole bunch of negative words for it too. But it is not communication. And that's where so many people fail. They think that because they said something, they have communicated that something. And and that's just not the case. Um, like you could be juggling 5 different tasks right now, listening to 3 different people, and I can come up to you and say, "Hey, I go in for surgery tomorrow." And tomorrow comes and you're not there to whatever. Or it's like, let's pretend I didn't say just that. Say, hey, I have surgery tomorrow. I need you to drive me to the hospital, right? So tomorrow comes and you're not there to drive me. What expectation do I have of you to have been there to drive me? I communicated to you, but did I really? No, I just opened my mouth and said something at you. The problem is communication isn't just me, right? It's making sure that you receive the message, that I give you a message in a way, in a manner, in a time that you're able to take the message and hear the message, right? So if 3 people are talking to you and you're juggling 5 different tasks right at that second, I have no expectation when I come in and say, "Hey, I need a ride tomorrow to go to surgery." I have no expectation, or I shouldn't have any expectation that you've received that message, because your brain is you're not you're not getting that. You're already in the middle of a whole bunch of other stuff. And so many people get pissed off the next day when you're not there to pick them up because they told you, I told you. But the problem is they didn't communicate it. They just flapped their mouth. Communication is your responsibility, right? And there's 2 parts to communication. You actively listening to the person who's communicating to you, okay? And then 2, if you're the speaker, communicating in such a way that the person's going to be able to get your message. That's your responsibility. Your responsibility doesn't just end with, I'm going to say something and then that's it. That's the end of my responsibility. I communicated, but you didn't. You said something, right? Communication, the foundation of communication is an exchange of ideas. And let's say I sent you a check, okay? I sent you a check in the mail, $1,000 check. And it never gets to you, but I sent it. But you never receive it, ever. Whose responsibility is it to make sure that $1,000 gets to you? Like if I owed you that $1,000 and I'm paying you that $1,000 back, right? And I sent a check to pay you that $1,000 back. I put it in the mail to your address, and you never receive it. Whose responsibility is it? Am I like, well, I sent you a check, not my problem anymore, for like I've paid my debt to you because I sent a check? No, no. You go to any court in the logical world, and they'll say, well, the person who was owed the debt, they never received that money. It's my job to make sure you receive the money. Now, I can send it in a check and we can wait. And if that check never arrives, it's still my responsibility because I haven't paid you. I tried to, but I didn't actually give you the money. You haven't received that money. So it's still my obligation to make sure you receive that money. And it's just like communication, exactly like communication. I can throw it out there and just say, hey, need a ride tomorrow from you, right? But just like sending it through the post office or any postal thing, I'm not dogging the post office. I just mean that my obligation isn't to send it. My obligation is that you receive it, okay? As the speaker in communication, my obligation is that you receive the message. So you don't get a cop out and say, well, I said something. If you're going to communicate, if you're going to say, I communicated it to you, your obligation is that the receiver, this person that's listening, receives the message. And oftentimes you'll hear me talk in metaphors, allegory, like stories. I'll give you stories to help you understand. And I know sometimes it frustrates the shit out of you. I get that, but that's how I learned, right? Is not just saying, this is why something should happen, but giving you a story that teaches you that principle of why something should happen, right? Because otherwise you're not understanding the why, you just know it, right? I can say, you know what, you see a red octagon sign, a red octagonal sign at an intersection, you stop. And that's it. You know to stop. Why? Now, that's kind of a simple one, because if you don't, you might kill somebody. But there are so many different things that, somebody tells you something and they could say, when you see this, you should do this. But unless you know why, you're not able to adapt it to your life, right? That is communication, is when it's my responsibility as a speaker that you receive the message, not that I sent it, but that you receive it. And if you are right now, let's say you just found out that somebody totaled your car and now you're going to have to deal with that, and you're just livid and you're mad because it was a hit and run and like they're not going to be accountable and you're going to have to deal with all this stuff. That's probably not the time for me to have a heart-to-heart with you about saying, you know what, look, I don't mind you cooking at my house, but, clean the dishes next time, please, right? Clean the dishes. That's not the time. You're not going to receive that message. That's on me. So anyways, to wrap up, communication, okay, your responsibility as a speaker is that the person receives the message. And if they're not in the frame of mind, they're not in the right place, if they can't receive it right now, just saying something doesn't free you from that obligation. You may have to come back another time. You may have to get them into that frame of mind. Maybe they're like thinking something's funny, haha, and they're not receiving that, hey, look, what I'm telling you is really important and serious right now. And they're thinking it's a joke, right? It is your responsibility to get them to understand, look, we're not joking right now. This is serious, right? Now, as a listener, obviously their responsibility in communication is to listen. But if they're not in a frame of mind to listen, your job is either to come back later or help them reframe that so they can understand we're serious. This isn't a joke, right? Whatever it is. Anyways, super fast, 10 minutes. Communication is like, it's one of the most vital things we have as a species, right? Our ability to communicate to each other trumps almost everything else. This separates us from almost every other animal. They can communicate, but they can communicate certain things, right? Danger, mating, babies are hungry. They can communicate the base instincts, but our ability to communicate ideas elevates us higher than everything else. Everything else, our ability to communicate ideas, but communication has to be done right. That's how some people are they're so good at interacting with people, is because they communicate. They don't just blurt words, they communicate. And the responsibility is that the person receives the message we're sending, not just that we send the message out. Anyways, I love you, and I'll see you soon.